Department and city government fail to adequately protect and serve the people of Louisville.
LMPD for so many years has terrorized Black people.
What happened to me should never have happened in the first place.
This conduct is unacceptable.
It's heartbreaking to know that everything you've been saying from day one has to be said again.
It's not only an uphill battle, it's an uphill battle with a 1,000-pound boulder on your shoulder.
Our city has wounds that have not yet healed.
I'm glad that people hopefully will finally be made aware of how deep the problems run.
Louisville's at a pivotal moment in what is soon to be its history.
Let your voice be a part of the change.
Unacceptable, heartbreaking, long-standing dysfunction.
They're the words that stick out from a newly released 2-year federal investigation into Louisville's police force. The results out today saying LMPD racially discriminates, uses excessive force, and that officers broke laws they were to uphold. And while this agreement marks a new chapter in LMPD's history, this investigation dug into every page of the previous chapter.
WDRB's Travis Ragsdale shows us how we got here.
Breonna Taylor's mother says she has been waiting 3 years for this day. She talked about how she felt when Attorney General Merrick Garland brought up the warrant that led to her daughter's death.
Heartbreak all over again, because I knew that to begin with. I said that from the very beginning. We've asked that question 100 times over and over.
So many layers to the problems that was released and examined today. The Department of Justice also specifically addressed the illegal traffic stop of Tayon Lee. 2018, an officer put him in handcuffs for more than minutes for a drug search with a canine for a wide right turn. This was one of several harassing police stops as the department started hyper-policing in poor communities, saying that it was looking for drugs and guns. Well, the report released today says a black person has a 50% higher chance of being searched by LMPD than a white person.
I'm glad that the DOJ, spoke up and said what we've all been saying for years. Everything that the community knew, finally someone else investigated, and exposed it all.
Last year, a federal judge ruled that the officer violated Lee's constitutional rights during that traffic stop. This investigation didn't just cover 2020 with Breonna Taylor. It spanned several years of wrongdoing with LMPD. And WDRB's Conrad DeLuce spoke to 2 victims of bad policing who are still rebuilding their lives from it.
That's right, they are. One woman sexually assaulted by an officer, another man wrongfully arrested and jailed. Just 2 of those violated by the actions of LMPD officers. The $176,000 settlement for Ferguson is just a fraction of the more than $40 million paid out for police misconduct since 2017. With photojournalist Greg Shapker, Conroy Deluche, WDRB News.
$40 million. All right. Thanks, Conroy. One of the big names scrutinized in this DOJ report is former LMPD Chief Steve Conrad. The investigation was said to look back 5 years and entirely while he was at the helm of the department. Follow this story at 10:30. What the DOJ says that Conrad repeatedly didn't do. And we'll also tell you what Attorney General Merrick Garland said to the current LMPD officers.
And WDRB has brought you stories over the last several years involving LMPD settlements, shootings, and stops gone wrong. We will continue to follow along and investigate as recommendations are put in place. For all our coverage on LMPD and today's DOJ announcement, go to our website, WDRB.com.
The semi had actually was dangling off of the edge of the 2nd Street Bridge. It's tremendously lucky that it didn't go over. This is a once-in-a-career type of thing.
She was just praying. She was praying a lot, so, and I prayed with her.
These were some serious heroes here.
It is a sight that we will not soon forget. A Louisville firefighter pulling a woman to safety out of a semi-truck as it dangled precariously over the Ohio River. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Gilbert Coursey.
And I'm Scott Reynolds in for Fallon tonight. New this evening, that truck has been cleared from the bridge, and this is the scene now of where it went through the west side of that bridge. We learned the woman behind the wheel was from right here in Louisville. The city says she is okay. She's home from the hospital. We also learned more about the hero who went down and saved her.
She was just praying. She was praying a lot. They had me on the top side. Once I reached her, she was super calm, collected, and helped me do what I needed to do to get her to safety.
Louisville firefighter Bryce Carden is 29 years old. He was honored by the American Lung Association just a few years ago for his participation in the ALA Fight for Air climb. Each year he races upstairs in full gear to raise awareness for lung disease. Carden's been with LFD for 6 years and he specializes in high angle rescues, and that training came into play around noon today when a crash involving 4 vehicles ended with that semi dangling over the 2nd Street Bridge. 2 people are in the hospital tonight with life-threatening injuries. Rescuers were on scene within 3 minutes, we're told, and pulled that semi driver to safety within 40 minutes.
She was just praying. She was praying a lot, and I prayed with her, so it was good.
And he said she was calm, cool, and collected, and he wasn't nervous. They are trained. For many, there are continued prayers tonight for 2 other people, though, involved in the crash who are in the hospital. The mayor says their injuries are life-threatening. In a statement to WDRB, Cisco, the operator of that truck, gave special thanks to firefighter Carden. The company praised all of the first responders for their quick work. Fire Chief Brian O'Neill described the surreal moment when rescuers arrived on the scene.
Very much a worst case scenario, kind of a crazy thing that you don't expect to actually have to do until you show up and you see it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually what we've talked about, and here we're ready for it.
Well, with the truck cleared, now begins the investigation into how much damage was done in that crash. In the last hour, Kentucky's Transportation Department released these pictures. You can see the crumbled, slumping concrete there.
Yeah, that's on the edge of the bridge, just aside the lanes where the cars travel. WDRB's Richard Essex explains no traffic will be allowed on that bridge until inspectors figure out just whether it's safe. Richard?
Well, you can see that eerie glow of the yellow and red flashing lights that are on the bridge. We'll give you a little bit closer look of the engineers and the investigators that are up on that bridge right now inspecting the 100-year-old bridge. This bridge was built to completely different standards back when it was finished almost 100 years ago. Now, the bridge, we are told, it was inspected just about a year ago, and we are told that it was in fair condition. The engineers will focus on the area directly underneath where the damage was caused. When I was talking to the engineer earlier today, he said that's going to be where they find any serious damage, if any serious damage happened. Now, the Transportation Cabinet has not given a definitive time on when traffic will resume over the bridge. With photojournalist Josh Horton, Richard Essex, WDRB News.
Thanks, Richard. We've been on top of this story since the call went out just after noon today. We'll continue to keep you updated as repairs begin, as we hear from inspectors about the damage on that bridge. To see all our coverage on this wreck, including video of that daring rescue, go to our website, WDRB.com.
He was Cairo Amar Jordan. He was 5 years old at the time of his death.
This unknown angel has been adopted and beloved by Washington County.
You've seen the suitcase on TV. He's in an enclosed suitcase. He couldn't put himself in that suitcase. Somebody did.
Since this all took place, I've asked myself numerous times, why?
We have a murder warrant listed for Dewan Anderson, the mother.
Get him some justice. That's all we're praying for.
2 years after a little boy was found dead in a suitcase, his mother is behind bars. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Gilbert Corsi.
And I'm Lindsay Allen, and tonight for Fallon Glick, we have reported extensively on what happened to Cairo Jordan, a 5-year-old little boy found in that suitcase in the woods in southern Indiana.
Tonight, WDRB Stefan Johnson tells us about the tip that took police to the other side of the country for a break in the case.
I'm Stefan Johnson, WDRB News.
And we do want to take you through the timeline of this case because this story goes all the way back to April 16th, 2022, when that mushroom hunter found Cairo's body in the woods near New Pekin, Indiana. 3 days later, police revealed the 5-year-old was found inside of a suitcase. April 24th, New Pekin residents held a vigil for who they called their unknown angel. We didn't know Cairo's name at the time. June 1st, donations paid for a funeral at Crown Hill Cemetery where the boy was buried. October 26th, police charged Cairo's mom, DeJuan Anderson, and arrest Dawn Coleman. More than a year later, Coleman pleads guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, while Cairo's mother remained on the run until this week.
Well, this 5-year-old's death shattered the people of Salem, Indiana. The city rallied again before they even knew his name, calling him the unknown angel. This is video of the proper burial that they gave Cairo and the headstone the community fundraised for. Police again identified him several months after he was found in the woods. And tonight we caught up with the people who made T-shirts and held vigils and who say they have been hoping and praying this day would come.
I jumped and I was like, thank God, thank God, thank God, you know, and then I started crying half tears. So, you know, I was just like, finally, they got her.
They are holding another vigil on April 16th, marking 2 years since Cairo was found. Well, WDRB has been on top of this story since that suitcase was found. We'll continue to follow the case and as it heads through the courts and bring you the latest updates. For all of our coverage, head over to our website, WDRB.com.
Listen for one moment, and what you hear is the language of grief.
Yes, my son might be because he has a gun and he's heading toward the Old National.
They didn't know whether it was truly safe for them to go in or not, and they did it anyway.
This is his mother. I'm so sorry. I'm getting details secondhand. I'm running through it now. Oh, my Lord.
And when you get on scene and you see, you know, the building, you realize, like, we've just joined a club that no one ever wants to join.
I don't know what to feel at any given time.
I'm tired of them having to absorb the impact of these shootings.
Love, compassion, humility, empathy. They've got to be able to lead us to a better place.
The pain of Monday's shooting is still very visible here in Louisville, but tonight the community is coming together to provide some healing.
And this evening, the city provided mental health professionals at more than a dozen places of worship. They also honored the 5 people shot and killed at Old National Bank, as well as the 8 people injured in the attack.
2 people are still in the hospital tonight, and one of them is LMPD officer Nicholas Wilt, one of the first responders to get to the bank.
We're also hearing the 911 calls from terrified people watching this tragedy unfold. One of them, the shooter's mother. We will walk you through those calls in just a moment.
And also Conroy DeLuce will introduce us to the first responders who ran into the bank alongside police. Later, Molly Jett will show us how local young people are reacting to Monday's violence.
But first, Katrina Nickel is live at the bank where there is a memorial for the victims. It is just blocks from where the city held a service to honor them this evening. Katrina?
You guys, the hope is that with each day that passes by, this could become easier. But the reality is it's gotten harder the more we learn about what happened that day and the lives that were lost and that we honor now outside the bank. And tonight the community came together to grieve. Many leaders also took time today to thank all those first responders that rushed into the bank Monday morning. And others also spoke about passing some sort of gun legislation so we never have to go through something like this in Louisville or the country again.
So many emotions coming out of that vigil tonight. Katrina, thank you for your reporting. Well, some family members of Juliana Farmer visited the memorial at Old National Bank today.
Heavenly Father, right now,
Farmer was one of the 5 victims. A group of volunteers prayed with her family today. They visited and looked at the flowers, balloons, candles, and other items left from the community. Farmer was a loan officer at the bank. She recently moved to Louisville, taking a job at that bank. Her friends say she wanted a new start.
We don't have funeral details yet for Juliana Farmer, but we do have them for the other 4 people who passed away after Monday's shooting. Tommy Elliott's family announced that his visitation and funeral service will be open to the public. Visitation is set from 2 to 7 p.m. tomorrow at Pearson Funeral Home. The funeral is Friday at 3 at Broadway Baptist Church. His burial will be private. Visitations for Josh Barrick and Deanna Eckert are Friday. Eckert's funeral will follow her visitation. A funeral mass for Barrick is Saturday. And Jim Tutt's family will hold his visitation and funeral service on Sunday. For locations and times, you can look on our website, WDRB.com.
As gunshots rang out Monday morning, fire and EMS crews stood alongside officers ready to jump into danger. WDRB's Conroy Deluche walks us through what some experienced. Conroy?
Well, Louisville first responders practice these active aggressor drills every year. But this time, there was no drill because lives were on the line. 9 people were transported to the hospital from the bank, including Officer Nicholas Wilt, by his fellow officers from LMPD. It was a frantic scene, and while they were prepared to respond as a team, it's certainly something that they never wanted to see. Gil, Fallon.
Rushing into the ultimate danger. All right, Conroy Deluche, thank you for your reporting tonight. The panic voices calling 911 during the Old National Bank shooting were released to the public today, and it is not easy to hear.
WDRB News has decided not to air the victims' voices to not further deepen the pain from that dark day. WDRB's Monica Harkins explains what the calls reveal about the moments during and after the shooting. That was Monica Harkins reporting there. The audio can be hard to listen to, and we are only using pieces of it sparingly. For the full audio, you can listen to it at your own discretion on our website, WDRB.com.
Despite the dangers and bullets flying, dozens of Metro police officers still raced to the scene of Monday's mass shooting.
I wish that the circumstance wasn't what it was, but those officers performed at a very, very high level under the worst conditions imaginable at this time.
Deputy Police Chief Paul Humphrey says Monday's mass shooting could have been a lot worse. Police say after shooting and killing 5 people that the shooter ambushed the first officers on the scene. Despite the gunfire, we now know that rookie officer Nicholas Wilt, just days on the job, and his field training officer Corey Galloway pressed forward, a move that could have saved lives.
This absolutely could have been a lot worse. Their actions to advance on that was absolutely crucial. The amount of time that subject spent focused on them, he was not focused on other people.
Deputy Chief Humphrey also praised the 911 call takers and dispatchers.
Well, just 2 people remain in the hospital after Monday's mass shooting at Old National Bank. That includes Officer Wilt, the only person still in critical condition. He had brain surgery on Monday. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jason Smith says he's proud of how his team responded to patients coming in. He says it's a miracle only 1 life has been lost since people started arriving at that hospital.
And we have much more to get to tonight. We'll hear from former Mayor Jerry Abramson, who led the city during the 1989 Standard Gravier shooting, what's thought to be the nation's first workplace shooting. And later, U of L and Bellarmine came together tonight on the baseball diamond in a show of unity. We'll take you out to Jim Patterson Stadium in sports.